We want to, okay, Patricia, we want to congratulate you on your 100th birthday. Can you hear me? Yep, okay. And we have there's a little video we're going to play here. If we can go ahead and start the video.
My name is Patricia Dorward. They all call me Pat. Have I lived here that long? 70 years?
That's my math, but that's what, you.
This area grew. It was just nothing good, a big field over here.
But one of the cute things about this neighborhood, and we still do it, is when we get together, and we all get together and walk around and talk about, well, those people live there, and those people live there, and those people live there, so it never goes away.
Life was so much simpler then. Father Robinson from the high school would come over and have mass at 6:30 in the morning, and in this old barn, it used to be a barn.
Her faith has always been strong. I mean, being founders at St. Bart's, but that's not the start of it. She went to church every day.
It's a good memory test, and my memory is going, whoa.
Did you used to work at Minuteman Press?
Yes, I did.
What did you do?
What didn't I do? And we raised 8 children here. I've enjoyed living here, raising the kids, and I've been very proud of all of them.
That's you.
You look so good, you know.
She did a good job.
Patricia, we have a special proclamation here. This says, in recognition of Patricia Ann Dorward's 100th birthday, whereas Patricia Ann Dorward, I'm probably butchering that, has called her residence on Lake Park Drive in Winton Northwest neighborhood home for 70 years, and whereas she was born on July 27th, 1924, in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and moved to Springfield Township in 1954, and whereas she was the founding member of St. Bartholomew Catholic Church in Springfield Township, attending the very first Masses, and whereas she worked for Minuteman Press in Cincinnati.
We think so.
For 30 years, and whereas Patricia has 8 children, Mary Pat, Nancy, Debbie, Susie, Judy, Cindy, Bill, and Michelle, and she has 11 grandchildren and 8 great-grandchildren, and she has been blessed to host 4 generations of family in her home. And whereas Patricia has been a treasured member of the community for many years and opened her home to the youth in her neighborhood, now therefore, in recognition and celebration of Patricia's 100th birthday, and calling Springfield Township her home for 70 years, we, Springfield Township Board of Trustees, hereby proclaim July 27th, 2024 to be Patricia Ann Dorward Day in all of Springfield Township by order of the Springfield Township Board of Trustees.
This is something spectacular. I mean, you can have as many kids as I did, but this is, and each one of you has something to do with it, so I want to thank you all for saying, even not even knowing me, and voting on me. I'm just amazed. Thank you so much.
Yes.
All right.
Kim.
I got it.
Okay.
You didn't tell her she Thank you again.
Happy birthday, Dad. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you.
You want to sit down for the video?
She's like, hell no. I'm 100. I'm out.
Thought we go to,
I sat through enough of these.
Let's go to the bowling alley.
I was gonna go to the bowling alley. Yeah, they voted. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. After that, the next thing on our agenda this evening is our 2025 tax budget public hearing. And Mr. Gilbert, you have a report for us.
I do. It's going to be hard to follow that, but you all may
Yes.
feel like you're 100 after you sit through this public hearing, so. We will endeavor to push through. So every July, as the board is aware, we adopt a tax budget, and for us, and just like every other entity in the state of Ohio, we are statutorily required to go through this process to adopt a tax budget. And for us, and for many of those communities, it is simply a planning tool that allows us to ensure to the county auditor's office that we are not planning on spending more than our anticipated revenues. And so what the tax budget does, it looks back at the 2 previous years, looks at the current year, and it looks at the year coming up, the subsequent year, or next year relative to the expenditures and revenues that are anticipated. In compliance with the Ohio Revised Code, Section 5705.28 and .30, the proposed tax budget is, as I mentioned, comprised of the history of receipts and expenditures for the years, in this particular case, 22, 23. It looks at the actuals for the first half of this year, and it projects expenditures and receipts for the latter half of this year, and also it projects expenditures and receipts for 2025. The 2024 expenditures and the 25 expenditure projections are based on maximum potential expenditures. We do that in a very conservative way to ensure that we're never going to be in a situation where we have anticipated revenues that are less than our anticipated expenditures. So we're very conservative in terms of what our revenues will be, and then we also show maximum expenditure possibilities to ensure we're never in a situation where like the federal government sometimes is, where we have to deficit spend. We legally can't do that, nor do we have a printing press in the basement to make money. So we have to make sure we have a balanced budget every year, and this tax budget is our planning tool to ensure that. After review of the tax budget and the adoption by the board via resolution this evening, it will be required to be received by the county auditor's office by the 20th of this month. The county budget commission will then return a certified revenues on or about the end of September, at which time Kim Cox, whose handiwork this is, and she's here tonight, our finance director who prepared the tax budget, she will receive and request that taxes and rates be approved by the board, which is required by resolution each year. And then we use those certified revenues for our actual appropriations in December, and we do the temporary appropriations, and then we will do an amended certificate of revenues for our permanent that we adopt in March. The public hearing that we're having currently was advertised on June 26 as required by law, and the requirement is that it has to be published in the newspaper 10 days prior to the hearing. And we do have a resolution on the agenda tonight to adopt the tax budget. The board has copies of the tax budget. I know all of you have read through the 132 pages of it. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those now. But as I said, it is more than anything else, it's a planning tool for us just to simply ensure that we're not in a situation where we've anticipated revenues that are less than our anticipated maximum expenditures. So I'm happy to report that everything is balanced in terms of what we're looking for the latter half of this year and our subsequent budget for in '25. So we're not in a situation where we're looking at any type of deficit, except that, and as the board is aware, we've been talking about this, we will, by the end of this month, have to make a decision on whether or not we're going to put a tax levy on, an additional levy amount for the fire district. Because if you look through the fire district portion of the tax budget, it is fairly close and much more delicate situation than the other special revenue funds. So in order to continue services and operating at the current level, we are going to have to either place a levy on this year or next year. The problem with doing it next year just makes the situation even more urgent. So I would say that, if anything stood out in the tax budget is that, and it just validates what we've been talking about. And, we do separate projections outside of the tax budget. So we knew that we were going to anticipate a fire levy either in '24 or '25. So again, that's not a decision we're going to make tonight, but I wanted to illustrate that the tax budget does depict that is, a situation that is needing attention in the next year at a minimum to ensure that operational levels can remain in the fire and EMS department.
And that's this, the necessity of, or, the issue of running a new fire levy is something that we've known about for years and
Sure.
have planned for.
Yeah.
It's not something that suddenly came up
No.
and we're like, what do we do now?
No.
But we try to be as conservative as we can with the amounts that we have to go out to the voters for to run the township. But, with inflation and rising costs and just everything, that's involved in our operations, over time, expenditures go up and needs.
Yeah, every time we pass a levy, we always anticipate that at a minimum, we're going to get 5 years out of it.
Right.
And that's how we project it out, based on the revenues that we anticipate from the levy, based on expenditures and built-in projections, year over year, increases in inflationary reasons, as you mentioned. We always try and make sure that with that levy, that we get at least 5 years. And we've done that. The last time we had an increase was in November of '20 for the fire and EMS department. So as I said, we will get through the end of '25, but putting the levy on in '24 is probably more prudent than waiting until the end of '25 because of it. It just puts a situation in a much more, like I said, a much more delicate situation. So for us, I think we always get 5 years. Sometimes we get more. But with the increase in inflationary increases, unlike we've had in previous years, the last 2 or 3 years, we've seen dramatic increase of that, as well as staffing issues and trying to retain and attract staff. They are essentially mercenaries at this point. They can go anywhere and make a good amount of money. And I think for us to remain competitive and to have good qualified staff, it requires us to keep up with what the averages are and probably a little bit above averages in order to retain and attract staff to our department. And every department in the region is hiring. So we are in a competition with every other fire and EMS department, not only in the county, but the region for those resources, which are personnel. And then if you look at the capital needs, if you look back 25, 26 years ago, when we started the department, we inherited a lot of that equipment from the 2 private fire companies that were consolidated into the public department that we have today. Not so much the squads, but the rescue truck and some of the other critical pieces of apparatus that we have. And, we have apparatus that are rolling out that are well over 35 years old. And not only are they not reliable when there's an emergency, but at the same time, you can't get parts for them to fix them.
Right.
So we're in a situation where we have to replace some very expensive pieces of apparatus. You're talking about, unlike a police cruiser that's $35,000, $40,000, these are $600,000, $700,000, $800,000, sometimes well over $1 million pieces of equipment.
For a fire truck.
For a fire truck. And when they're failing at the same time because we inherited them at the same time 25, 30 years ago. We have some extensive capital needs in order to maintain the operational level of this department as well, in addition to the staffing and personnel that we're trying to maintain. So, yeah, there's some real needs in that department, and the fact that we've been able to stretch the levy 5 years in spite of those needs and in spite of the sort of inflationary increases that I don't think anyone could have predicted to the level they've been back in 2020 when we decided to put the levy on, I think is a testament to our directors and our finance director and those employees of those departments to be able to stretch those dollars to the 5-year minimum that we try to adhere to. So, yeah, that's a decision we'll make, but I wanted to bring that up because if you look through the tax budget, it does show, if you look at the numbers, it does show that we're gonna have to do something to maintain the fire district.
And I think a perfect example of that is that 3 years ago, we approved in our budget to buy a new fire truck. And we've waited 3 more years because we're trying to get as much life out of it as we possibly can before we feel like, okay, now we have to buy a new truck.
Sure,
It's not an option anymore.
No, and there are pros and cons to that, right? And we knew that by waiting, we could save that money. The problem with that is if we ordered it today, it's going to be over 2 years before we even get it. So there's those built-in needs too that we have to look at beyond our needs today. And what's our needs 3, 4, 5 years from now? Because you have to order those things 2 or 3 years in advance from when you actually need it.
Right.
So that concludes my report. And but take any obviously questions of the board or the public at this time relative to the tax budget.
Do we have anyone here from the public that would like to make any comments or have any questions regarding the tax budget? We'll let the record reflect that there is not.
And I would like to give kudos to Kim Cox, our finance director. Like I said, this is her work putting this together, not to mention, all of the other very important things she does throughout the year. But obviously this is one of the very important mid-year tasks that she is sort of straddled with, and to make sure that everything balances and get it to the county. So I do want to give her kudos for putting this together. She always does great work.
Absolutely, Kim. We couldn't do it without you. We appreciate it. Okay. With that then, we will move on to our fiscal officer's report here.
Yes, Mr. Honolaw, for the month ending June 30th, 2024, the township expenditures were $1,974,363.93, and receipts were $1,153,069.43. The ending cash balance of $26,485,177.21 includes obligations for expenditures, payroll, regular operating costs, and ongoing capital improvement projects and investments. What I request from the board is a motion to approve receipts, warrants, payroll expenditures, updating current revenue and reports for the period ending June 30th, 2024. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you much, and I want everyone to know that financial reports are available for viewing at the administration offices during regular business hours or on our website 24/7. Thank you, Mr. Honolaw.
Thank you, Mr. Burning. Next, moving on this evening, we have departmental action and discussion items. Mr. Gilbert, do we have a report?
I do. I don't have any action items tonight, but under discussion, I did want to bring up, we've received several phone calls and questions regarding the access to the Water and Nature Preserve since the school district has installed security fencing around the perimeter of the Whitaker site, anticipating the demolition of the former elementary school. And the questions have really been two-part questions. One, how can we still gain access to water? And then two, and probably the more important question on their mind is, well, what's going to happen with the property when the school's demolished? I think why I'm bringing this up is to let the public know that we are going to maintain ingress and egress to Water and Nature Preserve. We do have an access drive on the southern portion of the Whitaker site that is our property that extends to Winton. We will maintain that ingress and egress to allow people to go in and park and access the nature preserve. And then the subsequent question, what's going to happen with it? I don't want to speak for the school board, But at this time, no formal decisions have been made by the school district relative to any development of that property. Have we been in conversations with the school district over the course of the last year and a half, 2 years, relative to possible development scenarios? Sure. Has a decision been made by the school district? Not to my knowledge. So with that being said, if there's any inquiries relative to what the ultimate disposition of that property would be, I would direct those to the school district, and the township will take action if and when necessary. A development proposal is made to us. But the purposes of us bringing this up is to let the public know that we are maintaining access to water. Scott and his crews and Public Works have went and put milling down over a lot of the grass areas to make them more sort of, it's still pervious, but a non sort of muddy parking area for people to access the preserve and park. And we will put up a sign to let people know where the ingress and egress is. But I just wanted to make sure people know that there is still access to water while the demolition is ongoing.
Is that parking up farther?
Yeah, it was up near the access.
Up the
Yeah,
drive, okay.
of where the gate is to go back to the
Can't see that from
preserve.
the road. right,
Correct.
right.
Yeah,
Okay.
that is correct. So, just wanted to make sure that everyone is aware of that. And then in the personnel department, we had the hiring of Jessica Seifert as a part-time EMT firefighter. We did have the resignation of Sophia Ward as a part-time EMT firefighter and the resignation of Andrew Harrington as a part-time medic firefighter. You see here that obviously this is a monthly thing where we have hirings and resignations in the fire department, and those resignations are simply because most often they're working other jobs and they just can't dedicate enough time to here, or they're being hired full-time in other departments and therefore no longer can work part-time for us. So that, illustrates some of the issues we're experiencing. In the police department, we did have the retirement of Dan Carter as a full-time police officer and the resignation of Brandon Musgrove. Dan obviously retired, and he's spent 27 years with us and has moved on and is well-earned retirement. And we'd have the resignation of Brandon Musgrove, who has went to another department. And again, this sort of illustrates that, the days where someone's going to come on with the department and stay for 25, 27 years like Dan is probably long behind us. And you have, again, a lot of police departments in the region, similar to fire, hiring people, and it is tough. We're in competition with other departments to not only recruit, but to maintain employees. In the Public Works Department, we did have the new hiring of Carter Lowenstein as a mechanic. That brings our mechanic crew to 3 full-time, and I think it's much needed and long overdue. How many pieces of equipment do our mechanics maintain, Scott?
180.
So 180 pieces of equipment, and that's a pretty good amount for 3 mechanics to maintain, year round. So that was a very difficult hiring process. I mean, how long did it take us to actually find a qualified mechanic?
It was close to 8 months.
Yeah, 8 months.
What we felt was the best candidate for the job. So mechanics, they move around as well, just like fire and police.
Yeah.
So it did take us a while, but I think we landed on the right one.
Yep, perfect, great. So with that concludes your personnel update, and I'll turn it over to Kim for community events and programs.
Thank you. Next Thursday, so not this Thursday, the following Thursday, on July 18th, we have our next community concert, and that is with Rob Benton and K Rush, and they are from Key West, and they're traveling the region, and they're going to be in our area, so they're going to do a concert on the 18th from 6 to 9 p.m. And then our next event will be on August the 9th, and we're doing a back-to-school bash at Clifford George Park. That'll be a movie night. We're doing Trolls. We'll have a bunch of different authors for kids to meet, backpack giveaways. It'll be a really nice event.
Perfect, thanks, Kim. With that, the board has copies of the departmental activity reports, and unless there are any questions of those, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Gilbert. Next then on our agenda, we'll move on to the resolutions. The first resolution we have this evening is resolution number 67, 2024, adopting the 2025 tax budget. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Braun.
Aye.
Mr. Bernie.
Aye.
Mr. Honolo.
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Next is Resolution Number 68, 2024, declaring nuisances pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 505.87 at various listed properties within Springfield Township and authorizing statutory actions necessary to abate the nuisances. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Braun.
Aye.
Mr. Bernie.
Aye.
Mr. Honolo.
Aye.
Resolution carries.
And finally, we have Resolution Number 69, 2024, a resolution declaring a moratorium until December 31st, 2024 on the issuance of any zoning certificates for certain group homes in which unrelated individuals reside. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
And before we vote on that, I think bears explanation as to what this resolution is in regards to. There are statutorily required group homes that are not necessarily exempt from zoning, but are statutorily required to be permitted in certain zoning districts. The one that we're placing a moratorium on is one that isn't statutorily permitted, and therefore we want to place a moratorium on them until we can figure out the proper place for them to be placed as permitted uses within the zoning code and what classification they should be determined to be. So I don't know, Laura, if you want to.
Yeah, I mean, just briefly, I'm working with Kathleen Kennedy because she's identified this issue, but the proliferation of different types of group homes in the last couple of years has been extraordinary. So it's not what we typically think of as a group home, which was, developmentally disabled people, elderly. Those are protected under various statutes in Ohio, and they can go in any residential district in any community. So those are not being dealt with in this resolution. What we're trying to do is just come up with comprehensive guidelines for what to do with the other group of group homes that there's different categorizations. So this is sort of your commercial entity that's bringing people into a home for whatever reason, and just try to figure out what we want to do and can do with those, because there have been other communities, and I think we've seen it in our community, that we're having some issues with these group homes where you're putting together troubled teens or people who are just recently out of prison, that aren't sanctioned by the state. So there's some issues with these, and we don't really have in our zoning code anything related to those at this point. They're not permitted. So they're kind of in a limbo as to where we can put them and where we want them. And the reason we want to do a moratorium is really study this issue, figure out what makes sense, where we can put places that are helpful. I mean, there's many of these group homes are helpful to people, and we certainly want to be part of that transition to help people, but we don't want to create problems in our residential communities that there's people who want to live in peace in their homes currently. So we want to, you're trying to balance the interests of everyone who's going to live in a community, and we just need some time to figure out how best to do that. So,
Yeah, it's really no different than, how we classify certain uses within certain districts.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't allow, nursing homes within the middle of a single-family residential neighborhood either. So it's just making sure that we can apportion certain uses to particular areas of the community and certain districts that make sense with other compatible uses.
right, where they fit the best.
Kathleen, I don't know if you have anything to add.
The only thing I would add to this is, not only do these group homes and different classifications impact township zoning, but from a process perspective, it also impacts our various safety services as well. So from my perspective, sort of administering the zoning resolution, I just want to make sure that we have our arms really around the different types of group homes, how they're regulated by the state, who permits them, and then when we are permitting them in different districts within the township, who else in the township sort of departments needs to be notified? Should we make sure that, I know sometimes the fire department is doing inspections for these group homes to make sure that they're compatible with all fire code regulations. Does the police department need to be made aware? So it's comprehensive for township operations as well, not just zoning.
Yeah, and Laura, I will say, it's conversations I've had with other trustees from other jurisdictions. and also just from clients in my everyday practice that have had some bad experiences with this. I think there's a feeling among the elected officials that this is something that we need to get out ahead of and figure it out so that we're coming up with regulations that can protect the quality of life and for the neighborhoods we have. So with that said, I think I'm in favor of this.
So there's a motion and a second.
Okay. Mr. Byrne.
Ms. Braun?
Aye.
Mr. Burning?
Aye.
Mr. Honolo?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Next, under our agenda, we have old business. Any old business?
None.
Any new business this evening?
No, sir.
Next, citizens' participation. Is there anyone here that would like to address the board? If so, we ask that you please come up to the microphone and state your name and address. Yes, ma'am.
She said I can go first.
There you go.
Oh, wait, I need to get my notes. Okay, I'm ready. You can start the clock. I'm Charlene Myers, and I work with Holy Trinity St. Nicholas Church, and we provide community meals, and I've addressed you before. I just wanted to give you an update on a few things. I haven't been here in a few months. We were preparing for the festival, as I hope all of you went to. It was a great festival, and one of the things that's a little known fact about the festival, or maybe it's a known fact, but the church does give a lot of give back to the community. It's the way we run the food pantry. It's the way that we are able to provide different things within the community. So it's not only about, a festival and raising money for something that's just fake. It's actually real for members of the community. The second thing that we've done is we're partnering with local food banks to get out the flyers that I know you guys have seen. And so 2 food banks that we've particularly partnered with is the Mount Healthy Food Alliance and Tikkun Farms. They see a lot of members each month and each week because they're open. Mount Healthy Food Alliance is open for several days during the week, and they're seeing uptick in volume, as are we in our food pantry. Which will open on July 17th. So how many people are we serving? We served, since we started in January, 217 people in our meals. And we're seeing about 50 to 60 was our high number, 40 to 50 people each month coming in to get our meals. And the meals are well received. The volunteers sit and eat with people. We invite all of you if you would like to come, because this is just really important to us in terms of doing this and providing this help to the community. Additionally, we see 246 people. We've seen 246 people in the food pantry, and that averages to about 50 to 60 people. Now, what happens with the food pantry is we allow our guests to shop just once a month. But if we were allowing them to come in every week, I think that number would be quite higher. And again, there's that need. One of the things we did for our guests is we started making sandwiches. I get every Tuesday night, which I'll be running to very shortly, a Panera donation. And we noticed that nobody was taking the sliced bread. And so we decided to get some deli meat, and we started making sandwiches, and boy, was that a hit. People come in every single week to get these sandwiches, which is, again, another meal that's provided to a family. And so our guests are able to do that each Wednesday. Our next meal is July 23rd, so if anybody's available to come, we certainly welcome you. We're grilling out, so I don't know if that's something that would be appealing. So we do invite you, and thank you very much for giving me the time. I'm going to get some flyers to the Art Center. Is that okay? All right. And
out of curiosity, how many people typically attend the festival?
I did know that number. It's really high.
Yeah, I figured it was. I'm curious to know.
I thought somebody said 30,000 people, but that could be totally wrong. Is that totally wrong?
That seems low to me.
That seems low. Okay, then I'm saying the wrong thing. Don't quote me.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Sorry, I'll get that for you next time. How's that?
Charlene, what on the July 23rd, what time?
Oh, good question. 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock, okay.
And it is at 7,000 Winton Road, the Greek Church. right, thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to address the board? Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, or evening, everybody. My name is Sandra Presley. I'm the Senior Branch Manager of the North Central Library. Our address is, let's see if I can remember this now, 11,109 Hamilton Avenue. So I have a couple of updates. As I mentioned in some of my previous visits, the main library will be reopening the south location. So our main library downtown Cincinnati, we have 2 buildings. So since the pandemic started, with our south building was closed for some renovations, and this weekend it will be open. So I'm inviting you all and the public to come and join some of the festivities that we have in store. This is an all-weekend event, so be prepared to enjoy the space, because we have the children's area that is newly renovated. We have a social stair that families, friends, and even people who are working remotely can sit on the stairs and have a nice, quiet environment. And there's just a lot of things that'll be happening this weekend. So on Friday from 10 a.m. to 6, we'll have guided tours, story times with some mascots. We'll also have the Cincinnati Bengals today will be there with Fox 19 News. We'll have some people from the Reds coming to interact with our customers, as well as FC Cincinnati soccer players. There'll be live music, food trucks, the works. So lots of things happening on Friday. And then Saturday, we are hoping that we'll have families coming out to help us break the world record attempt at the most library card signups. So if you don't have a library card, come on down to Maine. We'll get you a library card, get you some goodies, and you'll be a part of that Guinness World Record. We also have more tours and entertainment. There'll be a Nintendo Smash Brothers tournament. I know my kiddos are looking forward to that. And then we will also have some DJs and music, again, food trucks, pickleball. Sunday, we're kind of winding down, and that one is from 1 to 5 p.m., where we will have a preview of Paul McCartney's Liverpool oratorio with Cincinnati Opera. And there will be some Taylor's versions of Why Taylor Swift Resonates with Melissa Jacquart, I think is how you pronounce her last name. So she'll be kind of talking about the music, but there'll be even more live music and food trucks, and there'll be a bracelet making station. So our T-Swift fans will get to take part and maybe exchange some. So that is a little snippet of what's to come for our main library opening, which will be very exciting. I've had a sneak preview, and I'm going to give some documents to our friends over here. That way you guys can see some of the pictures, but you can always look at our website for more of those pictures. Now, we also have late summer, and everybody remember that September 21st is still a part of summer because they call it the autumnal equinox. It's a thing. I have wonderful children's librarians who taught me that. So we don't have a date for when Forest Park will open, but late summer is still the projected time. And again, you all are welcome to come out to that grand opening once it's announced. I have sent the trustees emails to the branch managers, so you definitely will be on the invite list for Forest Park and Mount Healthy. So Forest Park is still on track and will be opening late summer. And then Mount Healthy is still slated to open late 2024. So with that one, I saw some posts on LinkedIn of them, putting up the drywall and talking about the meeting spaces that they're adding, and of course, that big, beautiful parking lot that did not exist in the current location. So we're very excited for our Mount Healthy community to experience a newly renovated space. It's going to be accessible and just a nice place for people of all walks of life to enjoy. Now, we're going to my branch, North Central. So two programs I'd like to highlight. So the Hamilton County Water Conservation will be at the branch for the life cycle of a frog. We've got 12 slots left, so if you would like to register, feel free to call the branch, and we would be more than happy to help you register, or you can do that online. We also have the native plants, where kids can come and learn about native plants, and we've got 10 spots for that one. I have all the dates for that. So the 18th of July is the frog's life cycle, and then the native plants is the 22nd. And it's 2 to 3 for the frog cycle as well as the native plants. Another program that we're doing throughout the system is our Gun Locks program. So you can go into any of our Hamilton County Public Library locations and get a gun lock for free. We have partnered with the city as well as the county to receive gun locks to give out, and hopes to promote safety in the home and making sure that families have access to free gun locks. The last update that I have is, as long as you're 18, you can get a gun lock. We are the library, we don't card, so if you ask for one, we're gonna give you one, just to make sure that families are safe. So you can go to any of our locations. If they don't happen to have it, they can check at another location nearby, or you can go to the CPD station and get one for free as well, or a sheriff's office. So that is something that we're doing system-wide. Since we're not directly in Cincinnati, we're a county branch, so we get ours from the sheriff's office. Lastly, I have 2 positions open. So when you're talking about people coming in to work for years and years, that resonated with me. We have one person who has been at our branch for a good long while and decided that they needed to explore other opportunities, which so excited for them, but we're sad to lose them. And then another one, they actually came in last year, and we trained them so well that they're actually going to be moving to the Forest Park branch and help open this big shiny new branch. So we are looking for a homework help and enrichment assistant. It's a part-time position where you work 12 hours a week. It's after school, so you're there helping kids with their homework. It's a free program that we have for the community at our branch, and if you love kids, feel like you can help them with our electronic resources as well as their homework, because we know that math is vastly different from even when I was in school. That's something that we're looking for. And then the other position is a library customer advisor. With that position, as long as you are treating my customers well and going above and beyond and make sure that they get what they need, that is truly what I'm looking for. I am willing to train people when it comes to the technology. I'm willing to train people when it comes to the library collection, but those soft skills of treating people well and making sure that they get the things that they need and feel welcomed, those are things that you can't necessarily teach. So those are things that I am definitely looking for. So if you all, or those watching at home, know anyone like that, definitely encourage them to apply at the North Central branch for those part-time positions. So I'll repeat, the homework help position, that's 12 hours per week. The part-time library customer advisor position, that is 24 hours per week.
I've raised 2 kids. I would help, but I have PTSD from raising them. Good luck to
No
anyone who
worries.
takes position.
No worries. Thank you for that. And as always, I'll end with, if there are any community partners out there who would like to partner with me at the North Central branch, feel free to reach out to me. My email address is on the North Central's page, or you can call the branch and get in touch with me. But I thank you all for your time, and I hope you have a great night.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
for coming.
I got that number. It's 25,000. That was the right number, so.
Really?
Yeah, 25,000.
Seems like it'd be more than that.
Well, it did
I
rain,
have my source.
I heard
Sure
it
does,
rain,
based on
rain
the
one
number.
day pretty hard, didn't
Park
it,
on
on
my
Saturday?
street.
That probably cut it back a little.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else that would like to address the board or have any other comments, questions? It appears that there is not. Do we have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Seconded?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.
Adjourned. Thank you,
Thank you
everyone,
all
for
for
coming.
coming.